Hi, and welcome to this afternoon's presentation. Hopefully this finds you well. We are going to be working today on the resources actually, in Mozaïk-Portal. I had the habit of pronouncing resources, but I think it's resources with an S. At least it's what I've been told today. So I'm going to start, saying it correctly. So hopefully this finds you well. The presentation we're going to do today is regarding the resources within Mozaïk-Portal. I'm going to share my screen right now so you can see the PowerPoint that I have prepared for you. So the first few minutes are going to be a PowerPoint, and then after that, we're going to go directly within Mozaïk-Portal to see how these resources can be used. Resources currently, they're really meant for the teachers, both in the youth sector and the adult sector. There are the possibility to add this functionality to principals and support workers is being looked into. However, at this time, it really is meant more for teachers. So of course, if you are a teacher, that's good. If you're not, you can still stay and watch. There's no worries, but possibly it might be more interesting for the teachers. Moving right along, my name is Hubert Trottier-Lapointe, and I'm here with my colleague Karine Brisson, who's going to be helping me in the background. You're not going to see or hear her very often, but she's here. So, of course, hi. I don't know if Karine, you want to say hi?
Yes, hi everybody. So I'm going to be with you on the chat, and I'll be reading your questions to Hubert.
Beautiful, thank you. So, of course, as was mentioned, there is a Q&R. There is a question and answer section on Teams live event. So make sure that, I think something's going on here. So make sure that you do ask your questions. It appears I'm running into some technical issues here. I'm just going to try and share my screen again. See what that does. There we go. We should be back. All right. Moving right along. So our mission of the day is just to see how can Mozaïk-Portal be used to support your educational efforts. So our goal today is really just that. How can we support you in your educational efforts? Workshops and forums scheduled, just an FYI, if you were not aware of that, there are different workshops and different forums for the for Mozaïk-Portal. There is the communication subject, resources, apologies, and then planning. This being said, it is the last workshop of this series. There is the forum. There are the forums tomorrow, so on the 28th at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 2 p.m. for the different sections. Be sure to be there if it is useful to you. Otherwise, this is the last workshop, so I'm not going to stay a long time here. This being said, that link right here, grics.ca/mozaicportalen, can be very useful to you. If you do click on that, you do have access, I believe, to the recordings of the past sessions. So if you were not there, you can still see what needs to be seen and hear what needs to be heard, what needs to be heard. Apologies. Agenda. What's on the agenda today? First, we're going to see how to access Mozaïk-Portal because not necessarily everyone knows how to do that. So we're going to do that in a few seconds or a few moments. What is a resource? What are the institutional resources? And then your resources, how you add and share those. So we're going to see all of that today. Let's start with accessing Mozaïk-Portal. If you've never done that before, if you're not quite sure how to access it, it's very simple. It's that URL right here, mozaicportal.ca with a Z and a K, mozaicportal.ca. You just have to write that down, and then once you do, you have access to the portal. What determines what you have access to and what is displayed on the portal is really it is linked with the administration. So if you get on the portal and you don't see either your groups or you don't see your calendar or something is missing that you think should be there, then your first step is probably go talk to the administration at your school, and perhaps after that going to the person in charge of Mozaïk-Portal at your school organization. It really depends on who's your point of contact, but really if something is missing, be sure to let your school or school organization know. Right. I still mean to share my screen right now. I can see that Teams Live Event is not helping me very much. I don't know what's happening. I'm not doing anything differently than before. I'm just going to share my screen again, I guess. So hopefully that'll work. Okay. Hopefully that'll work this time. All right, let's take a closer look. So now is the time that we jump into the portal and see what exactly can be done with a resource and what a resource even is. So this is the teacher portal. Once again, this resource workshop is really meant for the teachers, mostly both youth and adult sectors. So on this homepage of the Mozaïk portal, we do have many sections. One of which is my data, or my data. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that either, but so my data. We do have institutional resources. We're going to go right there and see what we can do with that and what we can understand with that. I'm really having a lot of issues here. I'm going to have to take a few moments here because the screen sharing seems to do that. Seems to stop every few seconds, which of course is not exactly the best way to do so. I'm just going to have to take a few moments here. Apologies for the delay. I'm just trying to see what the issue is, if there's something you can do to fix it, because otherwise we're going to have to do that every few seconds, which is less than ideal. Karine, could you confirm if currently the people are seeing my screen or are they seeing my face? I'm not quite sure actually right now what's happening.
Yes, I'm gonna look, but for my side, I can see your screen.
You can see my screen. Okay. Yeah. So I know what's happening, but if you can see my screen, then I guess it doesn't really matter if something seems to be buggy, as long as you can see my screen and hear my voice. All right, back to it. So in the My Data sections, we're on the homepage of Mozaïk Portal for Teachers. Once again, apologies for the delay. Mozaïk Portal for Teachers. In the My Data section, we have institutional resources. So we're going to go right there. These resources are shared by either your school or your school organization. So these were made available to me as a teacher by either my school or my school organization. Now you can see there are some which don't really do anything for me, just as a blank YouTube link, but there are some, including the cafeteria menu or the Carrefour Education or even Office, that are here that I can use on the daily. If you want to see what those do, well, we're going to try Carrefour Education. If I click on that, you're going to see it's going to open a tab here at the top. So Carrefour Education, it opens a tab, and then that's all it does. So it opens a tab with the appropriate link. If I close this, I try Office, it sees the same thing. It opens a tab to my Office. So what these resources are, they're really just links. So the school or my school organization, they determined that some of these links might be useful to me, so they shared all of those. Well, to me and my colleagues, of course. What you might notice here is that we have those two which are checkmarked. What this checkmark does, this add to my workspace checkmark, means that when I go back to my homepage, as you might see here, we have both Carrefour Education and Office. I'm just going to remove these resources right now. I don't want to see them. There we go. So we only have these two, both Carrefour Education and Office. If I want to change those, the interesting thing by having them here is to avoid a few clicks every day. So those that you add to your workspace or to your homepage are really meant to be resources you're going to be using on the daily or at least weekly. So institutional resources, let's say I'm not using Carrefour, I'm not using Office, but I am using L'École Ouverte, which is a ministry website, and even cafeteria menu. I do use that every day, let's say. So when I close that, then I have the cafeteria menu and I have École Ouverte right on my homepage. It's not limited to two either. I could click all of them So if I put these back, we see that they're just piling up, which means that, of course, if I have 50 of them checked, while I probably could do that, it's probably best to keep it to a minimum, really those that you use on the daily. So let's remove this and that, and then I have Carrefour and Office. That's it. So institutional resources, that's really all they are. They're links that are shared by either my school or my school organization, and that's it. Thank you for I can see someone told us they can see the screen, so that's perfect. Thank you to that person. I can see that we have no questions currently, so I'm just going to be moving right along. When there are questions, they're going to be read by Karine, and whenever it's time to answer the questions, she's going to be able to read them to me. In the meantime, since I see that we don't have any questions, I'm just going to move forward. So institutional resources, I can add them here, and they were shared by either my school or my school org. Okay, so that's interesting. But can I add my own resources here? So I want to be able to log in the portal every day, probably because I'm going to have to take the absences eventually, right? I'm going to have to take attendance when we're back in school, whenever that is, in September or perhaps in June, depending on how things are going. So whenever we're going back to school, I'm going to have to access the website here every day, and I want to have a quick link here to whatever I want. In my resources, that's where I can do that. So I go in my resources. I do have to create at least one folder. That folder is really for me. I can create only one if I don't mind having all of the resources pile up in the same folder. Otherwise, I can categorize them, perhaps one folder by class, one folder by year, one folder by type. I could have, for example, a folder containing all of the search website, a folder containing all of the video websites. You know, it's really up to you. That's really your organization. Nobody else is going to see those folders. So it's really up to you. In this case, I'm not gonna take a long time or even be creative here. Let's just go for personal. So right now I want to have some personal resources. One that I could have here is, let's say as a teacher, I would probably be interested in going in CVE. CVE, if you don't know what that is, CVE is something that you have access if you're part of a school board, or what we're called school board. If you're in another school organization, probably private, you might have access to it, might not. You really do have to check. But what CVE is, if I just go, you see here, I open a new tab, then I search for CVE. I have cve.grics.ca. It's a collection de vidéos éducatives. I don't know if there's a translation for that. Connecting videos to education. So it's a website that is, once again, if you're part of the school board, that is free for you, and it's a whole lot. I don't know how many they have, but thousands of videos, of educational videos that you can use for free within your classes. So of course, if there's something, if you want to do something regarding science, perhaps in this case we have vaccination. I'm thinking of COVID-19, of course, and coronavirus. So vaccine, we do have this video here, 45 minutes, 1 minute and 11 seconds. So we do have some interesting stuff. But back to our main idea, if I want to be able to have that and access this website easily, quickly, from Mozaïk-Portal, I can always come here at the top, copy the link. That's all I have to do. I copy the link. Then I go back to Mozaïk-Portal. I paste the address, and we're done. I could already save. I have this right here. I can add to my workspace, and now we're really done. When I close that, you see I go back to my workspace, and I have CVE right here. That's really interesting. Okay, but I saw that there were some other fields. When I created that resource, I saw that something else could be done. So when I go back in the folder here, you do have to click on the folder, and on 3 dots. 3 dots allow you to either rename or delete. Go in and click on the folder. CVE, I see that I have a share button. Not only that, but when I was actually writing everything that needs to be written, I can add a personal note if I want to, which is not necessarily surprising, which is good to have, because in case you know, I don't remember what CVE is, or if I have a lot of resources with links that are kind of jumbled up, I can always use personal note to clarify things for me. Clarify things for me. But also see here that I have notes for students and parents, meaning that, of course, with the addition of this share button, you can probably guess at this time that you can actually share these resources with your students and their parents, which is a very, very, very convenient tool. So how do I do that? I'm going to come back to my homepage here. Once again, in the My Data section, I have my resources. So same place as before. I just wanted to go back here to the homepage because I want to actually create a new folder. This is really for more of my personal stuff that I'm going to use on the daily, but this is something that I want the students and their parents to have access to. So I'm just going to name it share for now, really not complicating things. I have that with this share folder. Within that folder, there could be a lot of things that I could share, one of which, if I actually go, I'm using Google as a search engine, but you could, of course, use whatever you want. I go here in news. Can I switch in English? Not quite sure. Not going to take the time to find that out. So, Journal de Montréal, TVA Nouvelles. Let's do that. Okay, globalnews.ca, Maclean's. I have a couple of articles here. Let's go for Maclean's. Why not? I'm going to copy here. So I do the same thing as before. It's always the same thing. You go on the address bar and you copy what you need to copy, or you go to the link and you copy that link. And I'm going to close that tab because I don't need it anymore. And when I'm here, I'm back in this share folder. I'm just going to add a resource. So here I have vaccine, coronavirus. And I paste the address. Personal note, in this case, I'm not going to write anything. I don't really need to. I'm actually just going to write something really quickly. Let's go for that. I don't have to do that. I just decided to in this case because I want to be able to show you what it looks like afterwards. And then the notes for students and parents, that's something that they're going to be able to see. In this case, it's just going to be, let's say, weekly reading. That's something that can be said in English. By the way, English is not my first language, so if I do make mistakes, feel free to let me know so that I don't do them again next time I do this presentation. If there's any big glaring mistakes, let me know. All right, so I'm going to save. I could add to my workspace once again if I want it on my homepage. Otherwise, I could always share with my groups. So this article I want to share with my groups. Let's go with students and parents, or parents only. Those are the only two options. You cannot share with students only. It's either students and parents or parents. Let's go with this. And then I can choose whichever group or groups I want to share it with, including if I want to share it with all of them. It's really easy to do so. So I'm just going to share it like this for now. Beautiful. So I just shared this article, right? I have it here in my share folder. By the way, the personal note is right here. That's the only place you're going to see it. Once again, you can use it if you want to. It's convenient for a lot of people, especially if you have a lot of different resources. Otherwise, personal notes, perhaps a bit less useful than the notes for students and parents. So this one, make sure to use as they're going to see it and what it looks like on their end. So if I go here, I'm going to switch windows. I go in this is a student portal. I'm just going to refresh the page. And hopefully, typically, I should already have access to that new resource. Sometimes it does take a few seconds or minutes, so hopefully it worked properly. And there it is. So you can see here in my resources, I could either go, as a student, I can either go in my classes and then go in the appropriate class and then see the resources to have only the resources for that class. Or I can go here in resources and I can see all of my resources, including that new resource that I just added. And you can see here I have the description, weekly reading as well. So that's an easy way for me to send resources to my students and their parents without having necessarily to send an email or to do something really special to send them or copy paste in an email. I can just add the resource and then they have access to it directly in their portal. So that's really convenient. The parent portal is going to be very similar. If I refresh here just to be sure that it works, hopefully it does once again. Resources, subjects, then I can see here I already have that new resource. Really quick, really easy. That's something that you can use very easily. We're going to do that just one more time, just because it's it's part of the flow. So I'm going to go and actually, in this case, in personal, because I want to classify it in this folder by mistake, but on purpose. So I'm going to add a resource here. Same thing as before. I'm just going to go here. I'm going to open this. Let's go for for that link. Right, I have the YouTube playlist from GRICS, the Mozaïk-Portal capsules. I want to share this link, then I could use this share button, of course. Most often there are share buttons that do exist on different websites or apps. So I could use this here and copy the link here. Or, in most websites, I can just go here at the top and then copy, go back to Mozaïk-Portal, and then paste. Here I have the capsules. I could take the time to write notes. In this case, I'm not going to do that. And I save. You can see here that both are not shared. I'm going to rectify this right now because capsules, I do want this to be shared. Or actually, I'm going to share this one. I'm going to share CVE. Because CVE, the students, if you did not know, the students can also access it. So I want to share with my groups, students and parents. Parents will be able to see the link, but if they click on the link, they won't have access to the videos. Still, parents will see the link. Let's share it with all of my groups. Now, of course, this, you can see here, this is shared with 3 groups now. This is not shared. Since this one has been shared, what I want to do is actually move it to the other folder. If I want to do that, just move the resource to my share folder and move. Then in my share folder, I have both of my resources. So very easy to do. Let's just go back to the parents portal and the students portal, see if they already have it. As they should. Sometimes technologies does like to prank us. We'll see if that's the case here. Well, perhaps in a few seconds we'll have access to it. Right now we don't, but in a few seconds we'll come back. If I do remember to come back, then we will. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here. So resources, as you've seen, a quick break here, I mean, right in the heart of the presentation. I'm actually just going to do this so that we can see me. So what we've seen so far is just that resources within Mozaïk-Portal, really easy to use. It can be shared by your school or your school organization, and they're really meant to just be links. Actually, they can only be links. So you can have those links from the school or school org to you, or even to parents and students. They can all, some of them can be shared. The school and the school organization, when they share a resource, they have a checkbox. Is it teacher, yes or no? Is it parents and students, yes or no? So they can decide. But otherwise, you can also see that you can add your own resources and, of course, share those resources with the different people. So that's what we have seen so far. I'm just going to be sure and ask Karine. Karine, are there any questions at this time?
No, we don't.
We do not have any questions, which hopefully means that I'm being very clear. Let's go back to my screen. I'm sure you've had quite enough of me at this time. So let's go back to my screen. On this screen here, you can see that I have shared so far links to different websites. That's all I've done so far. A question that we do get frequently, which is not something that any of you have asked thus far, but you probably would have in the coming minutes, is how can we share a PowerPoint, a PDF, a Word document? I want to share something, a bit more concrete to my different parents, something else than just a link. How can I do that? In Mozaïk-Portal, you can really only share links. It really does have to be a link, but there is still a way for you to actually share your documents and your folders. To do that, you do have to use a cloud service. So in this case here, we're using, of course, OneDrive, which is in Office 365. But if you're using Google Drive or Dropbox, then those work as well. And if you're not using any of those services, then I would suggest using OneDrive simply because it's linked with Mozaïk-Portal, but you could use any one of those. And if you really don't know anything about those, I would suggest probably asking around your colleagues, for example, or even in the Facebook group, which I'm going to show you later, because cloud storage is something very efficient and it is just very efficient. Anyway, moving on. Resources here, I do have my Office 365 tab, so we're going to go right there. Right now I'm accessing the cloud storage. So instead of having a USB key, I have this cloud storage. You can see it's a cloud. We'll go on OneDrive. I'm going to close this tab because I don't need it. I have Mozaïk and I have my OneDrive. Mozaïk-Portal. Whenever it finishes loading, I'm going to see that I do have different files and different folders. We're going to do today a very quick demonstration. We probably have something coming up in the coming days or weeks regarding how to use OneDrive more in detail. For today, I just want to let you know that if you already have your OneDrive set up, or even if you don't, whenever it's set up, you can easily share with a link, right? So I have these different files and these different folders. If I go in this sharing folder, when I select it, you're going to see here a share button will appear. So I'm going to select it. There's a share button right here. The website here is in French. There's nothing I can do really about it at this time, so apologies for that. It's currently telling me that anyone that has a link can modify, which is not something that I want, so I'm going to click here. So everyone that has a link can access, that's perfect, but I don't want them to modify. So I'm going to unclick that, apply. And what I have to do here is just copy the link. So copier le lien, copy the link. I have this link right here, and now we do have a link. And once we have a link, you can probably guess what the next step is. And of course, it's to go back to Mozaïk-Portal, go in my resources, in this share folder, in this case, just say it's going to be OneDrive. I have the address I'm going to paste. And then I'm not going to write anything in this case, but I could, of course, and then, of course, I could share with all of my groups if I need to, and even add to my workspace. So now I see it's shared with 5 groups instead of 3, with 5 groups, and it's here, right here on my home page. So that's the easy way to do so. In OneDrive, you have just this one folder, which contains all of your shared files, and whenever you throw something in there, so let's say I throw something in here, you can see here, École ouverte is actually private, but whenever I throw something in there, beautiful, if I go see it here, École ouverte is now shared. So the easiest way is just have that one folder, that shared folder, and just put everything in there. That's the simplest way to do things, to share resources. Otherwise, we might be able to have a OneDrive workshop, in which case I'll be able to go a bit more in depth there. And you can, of course, drag and drop to move it back if you want to. So now it was shared. When I remove it from that folder, it goes back right here, and it goes back to private. All right, so now I have my OneDrive resource here, and of course I can share PowerPoints and PDFs and Word documents, and even videos and films and everything. I can share it there very easily, very easily. I do guess that at this time we do have some questions. I'm going to ask my colleague, Karine, do we have any questions at this time?
Yes, so there's a question here. Can we share resources to only a few students so they can have it in their portal, not to a whole group?
Right. Thank you for the question. I'm not quite sure I do understand the need behind that question. So of course I would be interested in learning about that. But the short answer is there is no way to do that currently. If you go here, let's go in my share folder. If I want to share with my groups, that's really as far in depth as it goes. So I can share here. You can see this is actually my tutor group. I'm not quite sure it's called my homeroom. This is my homeroom group, my 302, and I can share it to them as well. But I cannot decide, let's say, in my homeroom group, I want just half of the class to have it. There is no way for me to do so. So it's really the whole group.
Okay, and we have this comment, too much information all at once.
Too much information all at once. Thank you for the comment. We do take those into account. The first time we did this, there was actually a lot more that we did. This might be still a bit much. If you don't remember everything regarding OneDrive, you can forget that part. The only thing, the thing that I want you, and actually I'm just gonna come back here with my beautiful face. The one thing that we want you to remember in all of that, there is only one thing, is that resources are a thing. They're simply links that you can use for yourself or that you can share. If you remember only that, then that's perfect. After that, if you want to remember how to do those, then we have a simple solution for you as well. So this might be a lot of information. Once again, if you remember that resources are links that you can share and that you can share them, that's really all there is to it. Because after that, I'm going to share my screen here again. Because after that, as a teacher, if you look here on the top right corner, you see I have this button right here, video capsules. So thank you for your question. It leads me to go back here. And of course, we will take it into account the next time we modify, next time we have to do these workshops, or we want to do these workshops. So here, Mozaïk-Portal capsules, once again, from the home page, top right, this button right here. We have currently 33 capsules that cover a range wide of subjects within Mozaïk-Portal. Pretty much everything you want to do in the portal is being answered by these capsules. For example, the seating plan, we have here create a seating plan or delete it. Attendance is here. Resources, the thing that we just talked about, is here as well. So if you remember that you can share resources, you can create and share resources, that's all there is to it. Afterwards, if you still need help to create and share them, that's perfectly fine. If you want any help, the first step in these capsules right here, you do have some more help. So of course, feel free to watch those. They're there for you. So make sure that if you need them, you can watch them.
Okay, the person who asked the question about the few students, not a whole group, she had for personalized learning in adult education. So that's right. A good point.
Right, yes, of course. And even we do have personalized for students as well. How I would go about that if I were you, I'm trying to give you some practical advice with, of course, my role here at GRICS and my knowledge. What I would do, I don't know how you're functioning right now or exactly what the needs are, but instinctively what I would do is I would go on OneDrive right here. I could have, it's a bit more complicated, so we're not going to go very much in depth into that today, but you could always have a folder either right here for every one of your students, or to have a folder with different security levels within it. So that's a bit more advanced. It is a bit more advanced, but you could still have that link, and then of course have the link right here. I do also encourage you in this case, I believe that, I'm not quite sure I can, well, whatever. I do encourage you to look into Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams might insert a bunch of your questions there, and of course Microsoft Teams with Mozaïk-Portal, both combined, you get the answer to most of your needs. So Mozaïk, so either OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, or Mozaïk-Portal, or a combination of them should answer your needs. Hopefully you can get the answers you need, and of course I do encourage you also to contact your school organization, as they should have resources to help you, I believe. All right.
Is there a recording of your workshop?
Is there a recording of my workshop? That is a very good question. Yes, there is a recording of my workshop. I think actually, Karine, you already shared the link. Yes, you did. So my colleague Karine, in the announcement, she shared the link for the different workshops. The link is this one right here, grics.ca/Mozaïk-Portal. And when you click that, it gets you to a very pretty page with the different information for the different workshops, including past workshops. And you have all these links here that you can click. And I believe that at this time, I believe that if you click any one of these links, you will automatically access the recording. So of course, feel free to do so. They're public. They're there for you. All right. Are there any other questions at this time?
No, we don't.
We do not have any more questions. All right. So that was really the bulk of the presentation. We're not going to go any further. Once again, as I said beforehand, the first time we did this, we had more information. We had Microsoft Teams. We did have a couple of more things, but as someone said, it is a lot of information. So right now, if you only remember that resources here, the teacher resources here can be shared by your organization. They can be selected by you. You can share them if you want, both the students and their parents, and that anything that can be shared with a link can be shared through Mozaïk-Portal. If you remember just that right here, then I'm very happy with the time we took today with you. So anything that can be shared with a link can be shared through Mozaïk-Portal or via Mozaïk-Portal. If you remember just that, I'm very happy. Questions, we already went through those.
We have one.
We have one, all right.
Yes. Will we have any first-hand live training when we go back to school? And will the schools oblige, sorry for my accent, us to use Mozaïk this September?
All right, thank you for the questions. It is indeed some information that is going to be very interesting to a lot of the participants, so thank you for asking that. The first part of the question was, I'm going to show my face here. The first part of the question was, are there going to be any first-hand training? That is actually not something that I can tell you simply because it does depend on your school organization. If they do want training from GRICS specifically, like from us, perhaps even from myself, or actually from the team of trainers in which I'm part of, that's what I meant to say. So if they want access to the trainers, they do have to go, it does have to go through your school organization. So if you're interested, you can always ask them. Otherwise, it is their decision. It is the decision of the school org. Regarding the second part of the question, I actually forgot what that was. So Karine, could you remind me? Are we going to be forced? Right. No, I remember. Thank you, Karine. So are we going to be forced in using that? If previously you were using GPI Internet to namely take the absences, take attendance, or you were also using it perhaps for the report cards, then these functionalities, if you did not know, GPI Internet, the one that the teachers are using, is its end of life is due for June 2022. So in 2 years' time, GPI Internet is gone. If there are any support workers or principals or secretaries with us right now, the GPI that is installed on Windows, that's meant to stay for a long while, for a long, long while. But the one that the teachers are using, this one is going away in 2022, which means that, of course, if you were, quote unquote, forced or obliged to use those tools, I'm not actually sure how obliged applies here, I'm not sure it's the correct term, but if you were forced to use GPI Internet, I'm not quite sure I like that term either, but we're going to use that. You are going to have to do those same tasks, those same tasks on Mozaïk-Portal. So, for example, taking attendance will have to be through Mozaïk-Portal. Report cards will have to be through Mozaïk-Portal, but otherwise, sharing resources, there is a handy tool in Mozaïk-Portal that we have seen today. Otherwise, if you want to share resources directly through OneDrive and email, you could do that. If you want to share resources through Teams, Microsoft Teams, you could do that as well. Mozaïk-Portal is really just there. It's a possibility for you to use, but if you don't want to use it, well, we would like you to use it. We'd like you to use it very much. All right, back to the screen. So hopefully that did answer the question. So the short answer was that, will you be forced? I'm going to have to answer probably. As I said, mostly for the report cards and the attendance. And the first question is, are you going to have any training? Then that really does depend on your school org. That's really the short answer. All right, back here, I did mention it earlier. There is a Facebook group. It's called Collaborateur Mozaïk-Portal Enseignant. The title's in French. However, if you want to ask a question in English or suggestions in English, that's perfectly fine as well. The group is managed by people at GRICS that do manage the products, that do manage Mozaïk-Portal. So of course, if you do write something there, it's going to be noticed by them. So don't feel shy. Well, don't feel too bold either, but be there, be present. That's perfectly fine. And you have also the community that can answer questions or answer suggestions, stuff like that. So make sure you do visit that Facebook group if that interests you, being part of that community around Mozaïk-Portal. We do have also capsules, which I already mentioned earlier today. So we're going to go right above that. There's also, that's the last slide for today. There's also a demo environment. If you're using that URL, that address, it's the same as your address right now. So mozaicportal.ca also works. The I here is optional. Mozaicportal.ca, that does work. If you connect with that password instead of yours, that email instead of yours, I meant. So that email instead of yours, and of course this password, you're going to have access to that demo account. I'll be right back to this slide in a few seconds. And what the demo account is, it's this. So when I connect, you can see here I have all of these demo accounts. So let's say I'm a teacher and I want to see what a principal sees when they connect. Then I can just come here. This is a school principal. I can just go in demo and I can see what it has to offer. If I want to see what a student can see when they connect to Mozaïk-Portal, I can click here on the demo and I can see it. There is something that I should add here that I did not say this morning, but I'm going to say it right now. It is important to note that the features offered on the demo side do not always represent what is or will be offered on the official version of the product. So this is really, it is a demo. It's not a guarantee that it's going to be always 100% accurate, but still, it's better. It is very often very accurate. So make sure that you do access this should that interest you. The information is back on the screen, and I believe it's probably already in chat. So there you go. It is already in chat. Thank you, Kevin. Very much appreciated. Right, this was, as I said, the last slide apart from this one. So thanks everyone, of course, for being here. I know we have a few more questions, so I'll be happy to answer them before we leave. But I just want to say thanks everyone, and of course, stay safe. I'm going to answer the last questions here, and then we're going to end the activity. So Karine, I know there are some new questions.
Yes. Internet student monitoring for IEPS is GRICS. Will this be part of Mozaïk too?
IEPs, so these are individualized educational plans. Will these be part of Mozaïk-Portal too? It actually can already be part of it if you're using ISM. The parents can see it already. I actually don't know if my parent has one. I don't think so. Okay, I don't have one, but here in the record section, if I had an IEP, it would already be right here. If, of course, the school or the school organization is using ISM and everything else has been done properly, the parent could have access to it right here. So it's kind of already part of it. If you want to be able to either create or edit an IEP directly in Mozaïk-Portal, and it's not currently possible. However, there is a lot of work. In French, it's called Dossier d'aide personnalisé. It's kind of a main folder that's been in the products department for a while now. So of course, within probably the next 2 years, you should be able to do so. And I say next 2 years with the adjective probably, actually not the adjective, but there should be there within 2 years, simply because, as I said, GPI Internet is due, its end of life is due for June 2022. And it's the same for ISM. So anything that were regarding the IEPs, then by 2022, there should be something. It is my understanding. However, that's not a guarantee. And if you want to have more information on Mozaïk-Portal, then perhaps you would be best served by asking your school organization, who will then ask us, and we will be able to provide the correct information at that time.
And the last question. This is not a question which pertains to the resource presentation, but I am curious to know how can you add to your calendar my schedule?
Right. Thank you for the question. As you said, it's not necessarily related to resources. However, I'm happy to answer, especially since this is a relatively short answer. Short answer is there is no way for you to do so. Currently here in your calendar, you can go into week view. You can, is it add activities or add? to your calendar. If you want to add activities here, you can always go in the add an activity within a period. If you want to use the planning tool, I would suggest probably watching the planning workshop beforehand. There is some subtleties to it. However, you can still add activities, but if I would like to add something here, there is no way for me to do so at this time, which is what I believe the question was. So if I want to add something Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., there is no way for me to do so at this time within Mozaïk-Portal.
We have a last question. Will you provide training, a workshop on observation and intervention?
All right, thank you for the question. We just to actually try and be clear here, it's already part of the teacher training. So if, let's say when we're all back, well, when you're all back in school, I guess I'm not going to go back really that soon, but when everyone's all back in school in September, let's say, if there is first-time training, this is already part of the, I'm just going to go back to this. This is already part of the teacher training. So if you have a training with us, with the teacher training, it's part of it. Is there going to be a workshop on that? My best answer is perhaps. I actually can't say for sure. What I know is that these workshops were created first and foremost because, of course, of the whole C-19 situation, which means that we were focusing on tools that you would use from home. So, and the OIM, the observation and intervention monitoring, it's kind of hard to use it from home because you can't really see your students at all. So will OIM have a workshop? I will have to say I do not know. I'm going to guess probably not. And is it part of the training? If you do a training with us, then yes, absolutely. All right. So I believe that is it. I don't see any more questions. Are there any more questions at this time, Kevin?
Nope.
Beautiful. So I did show you everything that I want to show you today. I'm just going to go back to that screen here. The information, if you did not have access, if you did not have the time to write it down or take a screenshot, so that's the demo account. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here today. I was very happy to talk to you. Hopefully that was enlightening and perhaps even interesting for some of you or all of you or part of you. So hopefully you did appreciate that. Once again, thank you very much. I don't know if Karine, you want to say something more?
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and hope you learned something.
All right. As was said, have a good afternoon, and that's it. Have a good day.